Giving all praises to the Heavenly Father, Yahweh, Bahasham, Yahweh Shai, Bahasham, Rachakodash. Double honors to the apostles, the bishops, and the elders at Great Millstone who rule well. Peace and salutations, as always, to the elect. All right, going into some end time prophecy. As you can see here, all right, our enemy, as he is on his way out, we know that the end of his world will be marked by him accusing, all right, the brethren, right, you Israelites, you so-called blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans, all right. But another mark of his end is the division going on, all right, amongst him and his own people. All right, we constantly do videos going into the division with America, you know, the EU, NATO, which is pretty much, you know, the beast system that currently rules this world that was prophesied to rule. All right, because again, everything that's happening in the earth can be tied to biblical prophecy and explained. And this is what the prophets of Yahweh Bashim Yahushua was set up to do. All right, to ultimately seal the faith of the elect. All right, through the spirit and power of Yahweh Bashim Yahushua, as well as condemn these heathen nations, as well as 2/3 of our people. All right, all of that is fulfilled within this word, which is the everlasting gospel that will be preached right before the end came. All right, and when you read Revelation, the 14th chapter, it marks as a new song, okay, that only the elect, okay, could hear and enjoy the lyrics to it. All right, only the elect men of Yahweh Bashim Yahushua could know and learn and understand the lyrics to teach this gospel. As you can see here, all right, as our enemy is on his way out, there's a divide between the American Christian, all right, and there's even a divide with the American Christian, but when you deal with the American Edomite Christian, all right, many of them followed Donald Trump and, you know, fell behind this, you know, make America great again narrative, you know, and as Trump's, you know, pretty much 10 months, you know, close to 11 months into his presidency, you know, many of them are awakening that pretty much he's fattening the pockets and giving control to the tiny tops, okay, those small hats, okay, and pretty much many of the MAGers are now calling out Trump. They're calling out, you know, Israel. They're going to these social media platforms and just, you know, going in. All right, many things are being exposed about the small hats. Okay, so here recently they called over 1,000 Christian pastors, all right, to go and be taught to teach their congregations and the American people to be more pro, all right, Israel, all right, which when you deal with the so-called state of Israel, the Zionist state of Israel, we know through the spirit it's not a fulfillment of biblical prophecy of the tabernacle of David being rebuilt, okay? And we'll get into a few things, which that truth is coming out, as it says in the book of Second Esdras, the 6th chapter, which this is a heavy chapter, which we know this chapter is associated, all right, with what? The end of Esau's world, man, which is where we are. And that's why you see this devil is all over the place. He's in slippery places, as the prophecy says in the book of Psalms, the 73rd chapter. Okay, the wicked, all right, is at the end of his reign. All right, he's trying to pretty much regain control of the narrative, as in this chapter, all right, 2nd Esdras 6 and 9, for Esau is the end of the world, and Jacob is the beginning of it that followeth. In this very chapter, it talks about the Inquisition, all right, which the two witnesses, all right, the elect of Judah and Ephraim, have been raised up, and there's now an investigation of the works of Esau Edom, both the American Edomite and the small hat, all right, which in this lesson we're going to get into a divide that's going on amongst the two, all right, and how ultimately this devil has just lost control of the narrative. So he's getting ready to use his technology to spy everybody out, all right, wage war on people, all right, especially you tribes and even his own kind. Okay. Now, An inquisition is a period of prolonged and intensive questioning or investigation. Interrogation, questioning, quizzing, cross-examination, cross-questioning, investigation, giving someone the third degree. Okay, and what does that mean to give someone the third degree? Okay, what does that mean? Okay, let's just look it up here. What does it mean, okay, to give someone the third degree? Okay, to give someone the third degree means to subject them to intensive, aggressive, and relentless questioning. Okay, and we know prophetically there will be a shameful spewing, right, on the works of Esau Edom. This is why he has to do stuff like this. All right, because amongst this thing called MAGA, all right, many of the MAGAs are leaving MAGA. Okay, and they're noticing the common trend that the tiny top is pretty much the one running that whole Trump regime. The interest in everything that's being done, all right, is pro them. Meanwhile, the American people, all right, are struggling, broke, cursed, hurt. All right, mainly you Edomites. Edomites in America are through. Toothless, complaining, mad. And as much as they want to blame the immigrants, the true issue is the small, all right, number of elites that are hoarding the blessing to themselves and ain't giving shit to you. All right, remember there was a point where the American Edomite took pride in being white. All right, and they're trying to regain that image, and they thought Trump was their guy, but comes to find out, all right, the interest is really, all right, being done on behalf of the tiny top. So because of that, okay, you're looking on these platforms and you're seeing, you know, Edomites, which a lot of them are controlled opposition. All right. And even, you know, like Candace Owens, they're now cursing out the small hat. Remember, they were once all MAGA. All right. And they're supposedly all Christians, right? So why would someone who's comfortable have to call 1,000 pastors together, all right, and pay them to brainwash their congregations to be pro them? It's because they're losing control of the narrative. And there's a divide amongst Esau Edom. Because, yes, we know this has a lot to do with the truth that the Israelites are bringing out, the two witnesses. But that third witness is on their ass too. And I liken the third witness, all right, because as the scriptures say, let's get it. All right, two witnesses. Okay. Should come up in Deuteronomy 17:6. At the mouth of two witnesses or three witnesses shall he that is worthy of death be put to death. But at the mouth of one witness he shall not be put to death. So the witnesses represent the Inquisition. The witnesses are the ones responsible for testifying of what they saw. All right, because all of you Edomites are fugitives. All right. Remember, Cain will be marked as a fugitive, one who hasn't paid for his crimes. And this is the narrative of the Edomite, especially here in America, is that, you know, ultimately, you know, the British, you know, they're you know, we paid our debt. Yeah, we did some brutal things, but we, you know, benefited the world more than any race. Over here in America, they're saying the same thing. Yeah, we took you down, we stole everything, we, you know, just totally raped, robbed, and murdered everything, but you were primitive. You know, then they start tapping into the statistics and the pseudoscience. You see, well, that's not going to work to get you out of the judgment that's written in the Holy Scriptures. See, so now he's getting ready to try, all right, to use his technology and pass particular laws. Okay, and it's good, you know, we've been talking about it, but as we get closer and closer to the end, okay, we're going to see more and more, all right, we're going to see more and more, all right, of them passing laws and legislation and using technology, all right, to pretty much root out what they call anti-Sim. Okay? So the two witnesses have raised up, and then you have that third witness in the form of these truthers and people with these channels and, you know, on these different platforms, even outside of YouTube, just telling the truth, bringing things out, going in on the technocrats. Okay, some of them are insiders, some of them are, you know, controlled opposition, some of them are just mad that what they thought was the American dream, all right, has been taken from them. Okay, and now they can barely afford to pay their mortgage. Okay, the boomers are through, the baby boomers, they're through. Right? See, and now they're looking at the next generation like, what are our children gonna do? Okay, the American Edomite is being out, you know, populated. You know, he has no legacy really to pass down. You have a few over here with some, you know, a little bread from slave money and all of that, but you know, when you look at the average everyday Edomite, they're through. They're doing worse than a lot of Jake. They're the ones on these food stamps and welfare programs. Okay? Although we know they're going to just point the finger at immigrants. All right? Which to pretty much get aid, you have to be a legal immigrant. Okay? Or be seeking asylum. All right? Which y'all are the one that passed those laws for them to get that. All right? Now, ultimately, as you're at the end of your world, you want to point the finger at everybody else. All right? But, all right, there are a few Edomites pointing the finger. All right? And that's that third witness. Okay? At the mouth of two witnesses or three, shall he that is worthy of death be put to death. So what's happening is, okay, amongst Esau, Edom, right? A delegation of over 1,000 Christian pastors have been flown to Israel for special training to learn how to convince Americans to be more pro-Israel. Because as we're in an internet age and people are able to, you know, look deeper into things, people are finding out of their atrocities, their crimes, right? Stuff like this. Okay? You can read that. You know, stuff like this. Okay? You can look that up. Okay? Circumcision of Hasidic. All right? And what are they doing here? Okay? They're circumcising children, all right, with their mouths and sucking the blood out of it. These things are coming out about these small hats. Okay? Coming out of the, you know, the you know, manholes out of the ground. They're just all over the place, man. You know, the majority of them don't really, you know, believe in the Messiah. Okay? They can, you know, they're at the forefront of things, you know, like the Ovid, you know, that was forced, you know, the JAB that was forced on you Americans. They were at the forefront of that, at the forefront of everything. You know, 911, you know, it's all coming out. And they're getting cursed out day by day. Right? So now you have Trump come in with this, you know, Christian nationalist, you know, rhetoric. All right. But at the same time, it's all about the tiny top. And a lot of them are like, hell nah, man. So now 1,000 Christian pastors have been flown to Israel for this special training. The hand-picked evangelical delegation were visiting key sites, meeting with Israeli leaders, honoring victims of the 10/7 attacks, and training as pro-Israel ambassadors. The aim of their intensive training is to help crush anti-Sim in the next generation by countering what is called an ideological war against the tiny top, particularly among younger people. Okay?
The group began with prayer and worship on the ancient southern steps that led to the Temple Mount in Jesus' day. Then they visited the Western Wall.
I'm on fire to spread.
Oh, Lord. She just had to be there, right? This nigga is everywhere. Boy, oh boy.
The good news about Israel.
Israel's God's place. Jerusalem is God's place for God's people, and we need to support them. We need to back them, and they need to know that the evangelical community is their best friend.
The pastors met with Western Wall Rabbi Shmuel Rabinovich. Rabinovich later commended the group for their support.
In Shamayim, it pray of you. As God bless you.
They're a group that came to confirm the friendship between America and Israel.
See that? And when you seen it said Western Wall, all right, that Western Wall, all right, all right, Rabbi, what is the Western Wall? Okay. I typed in here, did King Herod build the Western Wall? All right, now who's Herod? We know Herod the Great is the son, all right, of Antipater the Idumean. Okay, so these were Edomites, all right, and pretty much he married into a family of Jews, all right, via marrying an Israelite woman, all right, and this is where you get that whole doctrine that you can be made an Israelite, all right, via the mother's side, okay. This is a whole bunch of confusion, but again, yes, King Herod the Great started building the massive retaining walls for the Temple Mount, including the Western Wall around 20 BC to expand the Second Temple complex. But archaeological evidence shows the project continued for decades after his death, with the final completion possibly under King Agrippa. When you read about Agrippa in the Bible, those are descendants of the Herodian dynasty, okay? Small hats. So while Herod initiated the monumental construction, he didn't finish the wall himself. All right, the Western Wall today, the visible Western Wall, all right, which is tied to heavy idol worship practices, right? That's why you see him humping it. It taps into the Shekinah, right? Is a surviving section of these numerous Herodian retaining walls. So again, they're paying homage to Edomites. See? They're paying homage to Edomites while people think they're going there to, pay homage to the true biblical Israelites. They're paying homage. All right. Floyd Mayweather went, Donald Trump went. That's a big thing. If you're an American, you have to go over there and, hump that wall and bow. All right. Which is complete idol worship. Right. And see, speaking against these things in the times coming, as we're getting ready to get into a few articles, all right, it's going to, it's going to be a heavy offense. This is why Second Esdras, the second chapter, as we'll get to end this lesson, it talks about standing stiffly for the names of Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai. All right, because we're entering into a very, very straight gate, which is why you see individuals, all right, trying to backtrack on what they've been teaching, all right, because they've been approached. They know the persecution is coming. A lot of these dudes have been rubbing elbows with agents and insiders, okay, and they're getting their orders. But again, okay, you go there to that wall and pray. Just know that whole thing, all right, has nothing to do with the true biblical Israelites. That was set up by Herod. But as you can see here, all right, they're calling pastors, all right, over there, all right, to make sure that over here, because there's so much division amongst Esau, Edom, all right, again, you have the ongoing narrative that the small hats, all right, look at the American Edomites as Esau and them as Jacob. All right, so there's the heavy division, and we're seeing, the likes of Candace Owens, Tucker Carlson, and many, so-called MAGA supporters who have reneged on it, and are now calling out Trump, openly speak against these people, which that's going to be used in mainstream media, all right, to pretty much make a move. Now, let's get a little bit more on this with this article, this video here. What happens when 1,000 pastors unite for Israel? Okay.
And Israel's Ministry of Foreign Affairs.
A partnership between Israel's...
There she is again. There's Eve. A Jake, looks like a Jake, could be Ham, but that's definitely Eve. Boy, oh boy.
Ministry of Foreign Affairs and the Friends of Zion Museum led to the unprecedented visit.
It's the first time in history the state of Israel has officially partnered with 1,000 strategic pastors to commission them as ambassadors.
So this is the first time in forever, and this is the first time ever that they've done something like this. So what does this mean? What's happening? All right, basically they're losing control of the narrative. Okay, Esau is being made bare. All right, so they're getting ready to pass laws and legislation, all right, as we've been hearing over the years, the anti-Sem. Well, that's getting ready to, all right, take root over here in Babylon the Great on a whole nother level. See, this is why, let's go here. All right, as you can see here, the Chabad, all right, just gave Palantir a Torah scroll for helping Israel spy on every American. Okay, because this AI technocracy is going to be centered around, you can't say nothing about, all right, the people who are at the forefront of bringing the technocracy. Okay, at its annual Lamplighter Gala in September 2025, all right, American Friends of Lubavitch awarded Palantir Technologies CEO Alex Karp, all right, a top honor and inscribed his name on a ceremonial Torah scroll, recognizing the company's role, all right, in delivering advanced surveillance capabilities to Israel, technology that grants them intelligence, all right, unprecedented intelligence to access into the private lives of American citizens. All right, so as they set up this social credit score, all right, basically we're entering into the straight gate. Okay, in 2026, all right, it's going to be a very, very trying year for the servants of Yahweh B'Shem Yahushai. And this is what Israelites don't want to fathom. This is what they don't want to ingest. Whenever we talk about Jacob's trouble, all right, they get mad, all right, but this is the will of the Lord. Remember, Jonah was mad at the Lord. Okay, so just because you're mad doesn't mean his will ain't gonna play out. Okay, but here we go. Okay, it says Netanyahu is taking advantage of the unprecedented control over American citizens to push hate speech laws in Congress and threaten American dissidents with 5 years in prison. See that? So again, all right, as you see here, all right, the small hats are going to order the FBI to jail Americans who post hate crimes against these people. Okay, who are online speaking against them, who are speaking against them as the true people, who are speaking against their war crimes. All right, look, you're gonna be silenced. Okay. See if we can.
Have you heard about Dr. Randon's new 7-second back pain method? I see so many people trying it.
Send a gift they'll talk about long after the holidays and enjoy free Christmas delivery while it's still available.
Benjamin Netanyahu just declared war on Americans. He said it himself. Social media, your voice, your thoughts, your memes, is now Israel's battleground. That means you are the enemy combatant in their eyes.
But we have to fight with the weapons that apply to the battlefields in which we're engaged. And the most important ones are in social media.
This is not another things are getting bad warning. You are under attack right now. While missiles still fly overseas, the real war has gone fully digital. A cage is being welded shut around every one of us in real time. Algorithms choke dissent. Devices are hacked. Accounts vanish overnight. Personal lives are destroyed. Critics wake up to frozen finances, IRS audits, and the authorities knocking on their door. And a former Mossad chief has just admitted they're manipulating devices in the US as we speak.
Do you know how many treated equipment do we have in these countries? You don't. I do.
You mean booby-trapped equipment?
Not only booby-trapped.
And spying?
Manipulated equipment. All right?
In which countries are you talking about?
All countries that you can imagine.
So you could check out the rest of that video. That's off of, I forget the name of this platform. It's slipping my Rumble. All right. And there you go. You see the name of the video, but you can look it up on this article here on the People's Voice. Okay. So, and this guy here, all right, you know, you just get the notion that he just has he's an Amalekite who has a hard on to just destroy people. Remember, the Amalekites are the same people who destroyed the feeble amongst us when we were leaving out of Egypt. Okay, when you get the book of Numbers, right? Numbers 24 and 20. And when he looked up on Amalek, he took up this parable and said, Amalek was the first of the nations, the first to attack us when we left out of Egypt. And when you look up this word first, we always go into it, right? It, Ra'ashia, the beginning, all right, which shall be the end of which shall be the end of the first and the beginning of it that followeth. The first, all right, because both Jacob and Esau were blessed, but Esau's blessing would play out first, where he would be, the chief ruler in the earth and have all of the resources. Ra'ash, he would be the head, summit, upper part, chief, total. Okay. Mountain, he would rule, man, chief, head, man, nation, city, all right, place, family, priest. So this left-hand priesthood has taken root in the earth. But as we read here, it says, Amalek was the first of the nations, but his latter end shall be that he perish forever. And that's coming out via this gospel, via this, intense investigation that's going on amongst him, amongst us. And the whole world is now waking up to it. Okay? So just a little bit more here.
To combat anti-Semitism and reach the youth of their generation.
Dr. Mike Evans says Israel's fight is not just on the battlefield.
Right now, there's an ideological war that Israel's losing. So they need the evangelicals. They need the
ideological war that they're losing. So they need these preachers. All right. Let's look up Alex Karp real quick. All right. Look at this guy. Let's check him out.
What about, sorry, you asked the question. You're going to get the full answer you don't want. This is Palantir CEO Alex Karp talking about the cultural acceptance of targeting white people. Our country has selective empathy for everybody but working class, particularly white males.
So now you see the white race, right? It's another thing that's going on. They're so say fighting back against this investigation that's going on, all right, against their nation. Even their own women are cursing their asses out, all right? But when you go on to Twitter, the right wing is just going crazy, man. They're tapping back into that pseudoscience. They're playing a victim, all right? They're tapping back into how great they are and how the world wouldn't be developed if it wasn't for them. And yeah, we destroyed everybody, but that was for y'all good that we destroyed everybody. It's okay to be white. The white replacement theory. We're low in numbers. We need to, so the Edomite is on the ropes. Okay. And this guy, Alex Karp, the head of Palantir, he's even tapping into that. Okay.
So when you look at coverage in mainstream newspapers about the constitutionality of blowing up boats that are bringing fentanyl here,
blowing up boats, all right, from Venezuela. How they go get over here? Are they just go keep driving and fill up and keep driving and fill up and then bring the drugs over here? And again, people just buy into this shit. Yeah, you blow up the boats. Next is the Somalians. Yeah, just deport the Somalians. You know, it's just a constant psychological operation being waged on the people. All right, for this man to be justified and just doing what he's always done. And now he's at the point where he's getting ready to play a victim on a whole nother level. The accuser of the brethren, as it says in the book of Revelation, the 12th chapter.
I guarantee you, if that fentanyl was killing people at schools we went to, potentially your kids are going to, it would be constitutional to blow up those boats. There is selective instrumental use of empathy that somehow is only applied at the point where it would help. Actually, sorry. You asked the question. You're going to get the full answer you don't want.
Crazy. And Edomites are buying into this because they feel the target on their back. All right, their history is being tarnished. Everybody's bringing out the truth of who they are. So they're all over the place. But look at this dude. He can't stop moving.
The full answer you don't want. You brought me on stage. You know what you're getting. Okay. It's and by the way, I'm on stage, and I know a lot of the people on stage sponsoring this are skeptical of me. You know why? I'm on stage here because at Palantir, and I would encourage you to think of this. I divide the world into Palantir, essentially, and Palantir derangement syndrome, Palantir skeptics, and Palantir haters. My biggest fans started off as Palantir skeptics and Palantir haters. I believe that someday almost everyone in this audience is going to agree with me.
Right, because we're going to use Palantir to root out the true enemy, the enemy within. All right, and reestablish the Edomite race as dominant, unquestionable, and have the technology, all right, so that anyone who tries to come up against us or speak against us is rooted out. Okay? That's how it's going to be sold. But this even go enslave you Edomites.
You may not like me now, but you're going to agree later. I'll also tell you something. Look to the left, look to the right. The person you think is offended by this actually agrees with me. That is 100% true.
Dad, I think you deserve a lot of credit here. You get credit off it because Elon's retweeting you left and right these days, but you really did.
So that's these Edomites. All right. They're about this. They're like, wait a minute, man. Look, everybody's talking about the white man this, white man that. We're the most hated. So they're fighting back. Okay, but even within their own nation, all right, there's a divide. So we're living in unprecedented, beautiful times, man. All right. Look, listen to it. They hate us because they can't be us, period. We need to stick up for ourselves because almost no one else will. That's right. So, in the Elder Required Quam, he just did a video you should check out. Let me pull that up for you. Okay. He just did a video here. Let's go to it. I think this is it. He wants to be a victim so he can chimp out. It was another one he did as well. But, these Edomites are tapping into being victims.
This justified, of course, because they're really the victims. You understand? Let's listen to this.
I think black people are way more racist towards white people in this country than the other way around.
That's crazy. He thinks that's crazy. That is crazy. But this is what happens when you're dealing with a devil. Now remember, you brothers around the world ain't gonna know, but this guy Joey Barton, he's a CUNT. He's an ex-footballer, right? His brother went to jail for Right, so his brother, right, and his cousin axed this young Jake in the head, right, and went to jail for it, rightfully so, right? And then they were racist. It was a racist attack. And then Joey Barton said that it was just a scrap. He minimized what happened. He axed this youth in the head. This is the guy that's going to sit here and tell you that Britain is black people in Britain are more racist towards these Edom.
So there you go. You could check out that video, GMS Fear the Most High 7 God, subscribe and be edified. Check out that video. I was cracking up watching it. It's like, God damn, boy. And then they have the media on their side. So they're going to push this notion that, the the small hats, the Western American Edomite are, the hated, and we got to do something about it. But then even amongst them, there's a divide, okay? Because MAGA, let's see if anything comes up. MAGA, they're fighting against Israel. All right, far-right influencers turn on Israel. All right, MAGA divided. All right, we ain't got to click the videos. Okay, even this chick here, this was 5 months ago. But yeah, shocking shift. MAGA growing anti-Israel sentiment.
MAGA has gone almost anti-Israel. I mean, they've always been isolationists, but I think the images are just too much, even for Americans. And they feel like they're being dragged into a war. The bombing in Iran was something that caused a big reaction among President Trump's political base. They were angered by it. President Trump is very much a visual president. He sees things in the eyes of a TV producer, and he realizes that what's coming out of Israel, the images, the videos, what's playing on TV, it just is not something Americans can support. And we as a country, we give millions and millions of dollars, in billions actually, in support to Israel. And I think there's just a feeling that they want it to stop. MAGA has gone.
So there you go. All right, MAGA is splitting over Israel.
Some of these evangelicals are saying, enough, we're not happy. And that's a big problem for Netanyahu, and it's a big problem for Trump.
What's been also a bit of an interesting development that we've been seeing over the course of the last week is the criticism of Israel coming out from some of the MAGA's evangelical wing because of a wave of violence that we've seen against Palestinian Christians in the West Bank, and a Palestinian American brutally killed by settlers. And the other thing was an Israeli airstrike which struck Gaza's only Catholic church, which the IDF said was unintentional.
All right.
Who would have thought that Trump's ambassador to Israel, Mike Huckabee, coming out and saying this violence, against Americans and Palestinian Christians is too much?
It is an act of terror, and it's a crime. It should be consequenced, and it should be consequenced harshly.
Marjorie Taylor Greene proposed slashing the $500 million in U.S. military aid to Israel, and saying the situation is unacceptable. We wouldn't have seen this many months ago, but now increasingly, after the killing of 60,000 Palestinians, and now the violence erupting in the...
Esau's tired of hearing about that shit. The small hats are tired of hearing about what they're doing. The American Edomite is tired of hearing about his history. So they're getting ready to chimp out. They're getting ready to crash out. See? So, again, we always bring it out. Okay? Isaiah 9:2. And I will make Egyptian fight against Egyptian, brother against brother, neighbor against neighbor, city against city, province against province. All right? And we know that a kingdom divided, all right, can't further itself. So the Lord is destroying these people from the inside out. So as a response to all of this talk about what the Israel's doing, and even members of MAGA speaking about what Israel's doing, they got these pastors uniting because there's getting ready to have to be a ideological shift where all of this rhetoric from Americans speaking against them, and all of this stuff being allowed on social media that's speaking against them, all right, and even pastors now speaking against them, all right, has to stop.
Zionists to fight an ideological war.
One of the goals of this gathering is to strengthen Christian support during a time of growing global anti-Semitism. They say the pulpit must speak louder than the propaganda.
And within this, you Israelites, all right, especially you so-called blacks, okay, you're going to be the biggest racist, all right? And then they're going to start blaming the camps, right? Let's get that in Isaiah 19 and 17 in the NLT. It says, just to speak the name of Israel will terrorize them, the true Israelites. For the Lord of heaven's army has laid out his plans against them. So they're going to start playing some of the clips from the videos. Okay, we're going to start losing our jobs, right? But the Lord is going to be with us through the whole thing. Okay? So the land of Judah, all right, let's read that in the King James. In the land of Judah shall be a terror unto Egypt. So they're going to point the finger at Judah. All of these crash outs, all right, amongst our people, the, sleeper cells, waiting to do things, there's going to be like, wait a minute, there's too much going on. And they're going to blame Jake. They're going to blame the Israelites, which they've, all right, technically been doing that since Trump got in office. Okay? They shifted from, placating and, pity-patting with Jake on the left, with Biden and Kamala and Black Lives Matter, to now, nah, you niggas are the problem. You're sucking up all of the resources. All right? The Northern Kingdom, you're a bunch of goddamn illegal immigrants, sucking up welfare. Meanwhile, these corporations and the welfare they get is not mentioned. So Israel is going to be, looked at in a very, very negative light. Not that it's always, we know it's always been that way, but things are getting ready to turn up. Okay.
So it's just, I think, an extraordinary time for pastors to go to their pulpits and to speak with clarity and with boldness and to push back on the anti-Semitism, the bigotry that is being pushed toward Jewish people and toward the people of Israel.
Unfortunately, the pulpit has become quiet about those things.
That's that Western Wall. See that? See the people praying to it. What scripture tells us to do that? So this has a deeper meaning than anything scriptural. This goes into their beliefs. Okay? Let's type in Western Wall. It's Shekinah. Shekinah Western Wall. Okay? The Shekinah divine presence is believed by Jewish tradition to never have departed from the Western Wall. So when they're humping that wall, all right, they're humping the Shekinah presence, the divine presence, okay? Making it, all right, their holiest site. So what scripture tells us to do this? Okay, and what is the Shekinah? Okay? The divine presence, the female aspect in the Kabbalah and Kabbalism as a divine female aspect. See that? So what does this have to do with the scriptures? But now saying stuff like this is going to eventually put you at the threat of imminent death. And we're walking boldly into the straight gate. Okay, as it says in Wisdom of Solomon, we are esteemed of them as counterfeits. Let's get Wisdom of Solomon, the 2nd chapter. All right, this is the wicked and how they view the righteous. Okay. Where does it say that counter? Yeah, here we go. Wisdom of Solomon 2:13. He professeth to have knowledge of the Most High and calleth himself the child of the Lord. All right. This is how those wicked scribes and Pharisees view Yahweh Shai. This is prophecy, but we can take it and tie it to those small hats and how they view us. He was made to reprove our thoughts. He is grievous unto us even to behold, for his life is not like other men's, and his ways are of another fashion. We are esteemed of him as counterfeits. He abstaineth from our ways as filthiness. Okay? He pronounced the end of the just to be blessed and making this boast that God is his father. So they know that we look at them as counterfeits. And what is a counterfeit? Okay, a counterfeit is made in exact imitation. That's where you get the term ish. Okay? All right, when they say they are JOOs, all right, they put the ish at the end of it. So made an exact imitation of something valuable or important with the intention to deceive or defraud. Fake, copied. Let's go to Edom Online, all right? and type in Ish. Yeah, mortgage means death. Ain't that something? A mortgage payment is a death pledge. But anyway, Ish. Let's see. Ish as a... Let's see. Let's see as a synonym. To be like Ish, nativity, country. Let me see here. Suffix. Yeah, as a suffix, what does it mean? Meaning of suffix Ish. Primarily indicating approximation or similarity, relating to, all right, approximately or somewhat. Okay. Let's see. So they're not the true ones, but they're Ish. I'll just say that. Okay. So now you know history about that wall. Okay. You can look up more if you want.
And toward the people of Israel.
Unfortunately, the pulpit has become quiet about those things. We've allowed cultural voices to speak louder to the congregation than the pastors have on these topics. So it's been motivating to make.
So all of these COONs, right? You know, these big name pastors are all getting ready to be down with this. They're going to have to. Okay, 2026 is going to be interesting.
Make sure that we go back and bring the message of who Israel is to the Lord and our role as Christians to continue to support and pray for Israel.
There's a growing cancer within the evangelical movement in America where people are thinking Israel doesn't matter and there's nothing biblical about our relationship to Israel. This is very dangerous.
Ambassador Huckabee, a former pastor, sees a rising danger in the church.
Because this idea that God will break his covenant, or he has broken his covenant with the Jewish people, it borders on blasphemy. Because
and vocab teaches that. All right, that's replacement theology. See that? All right, so it's all kind of confusion, man. But at the end of the day, he doesn't feel quietness in his belly. Let's get that. Okay. Jeremiah 49:10, but I have made Esau bare, I have uncovered his secret places, and his seed is spoiled, and his brethren and his neighbors, and he is not. Okay, Psalm 37:35, I have seen the wicked in great power and spreading himself like a green bay tree. Yet he passed away, and lo, he was not, and I sought him, but he could not be found. So E is going to pay. Okay, quiet. His belly. Boom. Job 20 and 18. That which he labored for shall he restore. Right? All the resources, everything, the gold, and shall not swallow it down. According to his substance shall the restitution be, and he shall not rejoice therein. So he is going to have to pay, okay? Because he oppressed the poor and has forsaken the poor. Now he's blaming the poor that his system is collapsing because he had violently taken away a house which he builded not. Oh, wow. I wonder who this can be talking about. Surely he shall not feel quietness in his belly. All right. He shall not save that which he desires. So he's not feeling quietness in his belly, meaning he's not settled. He's not he's uneasy. Okay. And it also goes into him just not having enough, as it says in the book of Habakkuk. He can never be satisfied. See? There shall none of his meat be left, therefore no man shall look for his goods. In the fullness of his sufficiency he shall be in straits, and every hand of the wicked shall come upon him. Okay, so in the fullness of his sufficiency he shall be in straits. He's in straits. This represents a nation in straits. Okay? And then they're going to act on it. Okay? Let's go here.
If 2 years ago, I mean, just go back 2 years ago,
Israel was on its knees and its existence was in doubt, and the threats it faced seemed insurmountable. If I had predicted to you then any one of the miraculous things that have happened in the last 2 years, any one of them, pick one: Lebanon, Syria, Hamas, the hostages, Iran, and the U.S. involvement, any one of those things, you would have said that the stress of the moment drove me to delusion. And they all happened in 2 years. And so we are living in a time of miracles and unprecedented opportunities. And the challenge for us here, and with this I'll end because this is key. The challenge for us here is to leverage Israel's successes into our successes and our victories here, because we are one people. Israel's weakness is ours and Israel's strength is ours. And now that Israel has turned the entire geopolitical situation on its head, our job in the diaspora is to leverage those wins and win here. Do to our enemies here what Israel did to its enemies there.
Do to our enemies here, all right? In the diaspora, they're the scattered Jews. So over here in America, we need to do to our enemies here what Israel did to their enemies there. All right. And since October the 7th of 2023, they have been on a war path to get revenge. All right. Because what's the narrative? You know, a group of people, you know, just drove into a heavily surveilled, you know, Israel, and it just took, you know, hostages and plundered and did, you know, allegedly. All right. But again, pure evil spin. This is unhinged and deeply disturbing. So again, let's listen to what he said again.
Is to leverage those wins and win here. Do to our enemies here what Israel did to its enemies there. And on that, the IAC is focused.
See that?
And Israel.
So now you understand what's going on here. All right. As your government has been sold out to these people. Okay. And this guy here, this Karp dude, I mean, he has a bloodthirst. Okay. To harm people, blow people up.
Right. Shalom. First, I like.
What would it?
See? So, yeah. What do you say? We aren't arrogant enough.
In some places we were too arrogant. In some places we weren't arrogant enough. That's like, you know, if we had gone into the VCs and been like, "F you, we're going to win," they probably would have given us money.
Do you have any favorite stories from some of those VC meetings?
So he's proud as hell.
That a few people get wealthy, and if you said platitudes that were obviously stupid, you could. Oh. Yeah. And, you know, well, do you want to hear my answer? Okay. So, I think the primary cause of death to Palestinians. Okay. Do you want to hear the answer, or do you want to yell? Well, you don't want to hear an answer? Obviously. So the primary source of death in Palestine is the fact that Hamas has realized that there are millions and millions of useful idiots that will. Can we get security up there? Mostly terrorists. That's true.
So he admitted that technology from Palantir is used to take out T people. Right? So that technology was used to just find people who were in hiding, and it's just with facial recognition and just get them up out of there. Okay? And they want that over here in the States. Okay?
But you said something, Mr. Vice President, that is not accurate. You said the policy of the Trump administration is that the West Bank will not be annexed by Israel. That will continue to be our policy. Mr. Vice President, we love you. We love you and we love America. But there's something you have to understand. The policy of the God who birthed America and the policy of the God who gave these people this land is, in fact, that Judea and Samaria is Bible land. It's Bible land. We have 66 reasons, Mr. Vice President, why it's Bible land. The 66 books of this Bible.
True. Yep, and they only want to tap into the Bible when it comes to taking land, war, you know, it's just, they're just not going to stop, man. And, you know, even this video here, you know, may get, you know, taken down, but at the end of the day, we're just reporting on the news.
Maybe you should know who. Well, this week, a group of more than 1,000 American Christian priests and pastors are in Israel to become ambassadors. Maybe you should know who. Well, this week, a group of more than 1,000 American Christian priests and pastors are in Israel to become ambassadors. This is called the Ambassador for Israel Summit. Here's the itinerary. It's posted publicly. You'll notice that they get treated to a full October 7th experience, and then they meet with Israeli politicians and IDF generals before going to Jerusalem for a worship and celebration. Here's the curriculum. They'll study this two-part manual. It's basically a textbook going over Christian Zionism as a foundation and then a decisive force in Jewish history, even though Christian Zionism is quite new in the last century, but they are establishing this. They're weaving it.
So now, even amongst Christian Zionism, now they're starting to question certain things. Like, wait a minute, you know, this is too far. What they're doing is too much. You know, so very interesting times.
In and out through history as biblical. How do you think Christians should feel about their pastors being groomed by a foreign government? The Bible is clear that allegiance belongs to God, not governments. Scripture repeatedly warns that human governments are temporary. So if a pastor is being trained, funded, ideologically shaped by a man government.
And see, that's the thing. The state of Israel has been found out to be a man-made secular government. It's not the throne of David in the government that was prophesied to be established under Yahweh Shai, establishing King David, okay, and the rest of the 12 and the 144,000. That's far from their thoughts. And I mean, a big example of that is that Western Wall. What the hell is that all about? Anyway, interesting times. See here. Let's see here. Now, just to bring this, all right, something that just happened. All right, New York, Los Angeles law enforcement are on alert in wake of a Bondi Beach fatal shooting that happened in Australia. An Australian official said the attack targeted the local-ish community. All right, so look for more stuff like this going forward. All right, look at this. Let's press play because I can't keep looking at this.
Horrific shooting overseas, this time at a Hanukkah event on Australia's Bondi Beach. This video showing the moment you hear gunshots ringing out. Foreign correspondent Marcus Moore joins us now. And Marcus, we know those gunmen were perched on some sort of bridge.
Martha, that's right. They were perched on top of a pedestrian bridge when they started shooting at innocent people. And this morning, Australia's prime minister has called.
So they're in slippery places. Okay. And what they're getting ready to do is, it's getting ready to, this anti-Sim thing is going to take an uptick, because they're at the forefront of this NWO. So to speak against them going forward is going to be an offense. Okay? Psalm 73 and 17, until I went into the sanctuary of the Most High, then understood I therein. Okay? And again, this is why the likes of Deacon and Hassad, they're trying to change their stance. All right? And when you look at how the Rosicrucians roll, right? Universalism and the Rosicrucian order. When you start to see a camp out of nowhere bring up, universalism, all right, all nations can be saved. They just came out of nowhere with that. All right, that's not a new doctrine. Of course, we've been battling Christians left and right. But why all of a sudden do you see Israelites in this big coalition amongst Israelites and leaders coming together saying, yeah, the heathen can be saved, man? That's all they talk about now. That's a key indicator, which we don't have the proof, that they have been approached by the Rosicrucians. The Rosicrucian order embodies universalism through its core principle, universality, aiming to provide spiritual wisdom for all humanity, transcending specific religions, all right, by integrating Hermeticism, alchemy, Christian. And when you look at Deacon Akkad, they basically bringing in Gnostic teachings, fallen angels and all of that. All right, this is a key indicator, I believe, that they've been approached by the Rosicrucians, because E is about to roll. So he's going into in another, all right, when you see a music ministry, all right, not that music and brothers make music, but when you see a music ministry in a congregation, all right, the Rosicrucians also are big in that. I remember going into it. Let's see if they're going to it here. Okay. Yep. Rosicrucians, believe music aligns with the universe's harmony, vibrations, yada, yada, yada. They're very big into music. So, what we're looking at is infiltration, I believe, through the spirit. All right. And tying that to this lesson, Esau's in slippery places. So he's approaching particular dudes. You rub elbows enough with the wrong crowd, you're going to get approached. All right. And I believe those dudes were approached. And now you're seeing this shift amongst Israel to, heathen can be saved, bringing about that universalism doctrine. You're seeing the sellouts show there. And we told you they were. Okay. And they do it in different ways. Some of them don't outright say heathen can be saved. Some of them are, traveling all over the world and changing the chart, Anyway, until you come into the true faith of Yahweh Bashim Yahushai, repent, take rebuke, that's the only way the Lord is going to open you up to the true understanding. Right? But when you come into the sanctuary of the Most High, then you garner the faith to know and believe in their end, because it's written, not to join with them. All right? It says, surely thou didst set them in slippery places, thou cast them down into destruction. So Esau is in a slippery place right now. Okay? You put them on a slippery path. Okay? Because now they're gonna be forced to make their move, which their move is going to ultimately lead to the Lord making his move. Okay? This is why we have to, pray for miracles, healings, power, because again, it's written, but we have to believe and have faith as we walk down this path to the straight gate, because there's going to be more of these type of happenings. Then they're going to start to blend it with the teachings of the Israelites, right? So you're going to have to be rooted. And a lot of you come into these comment boards talking about this is fear mongering. All right, we'll see. Isaiah 59:19, so shall they fear the name of the Lord from the west, the northwestern hemisphere, and the glory of his rising from the sun. When the enemy shall come in like a flood, the spirit of Yahweh shall lift up a standard against him. So, a lot of you are of the opinion, like, this is too much. Y'all, this is scary. Yeah, it is. The thought of it, it is associated with a fleshly, all right. But we have to also, all right, hone in on the promise, the prophecy that the Lord is going to lift up a standard, man, because he is going to come in like a flood. Okay. Point blank, period. Okay. Revelation 12 and 10. Now is come salvation. All right. And strength in the kingdom of our power and the power of his anointed. For the accuser of our brethren is cast down, which accused them before our power day and night. So he's getting ready to, as we always go into, all right, he's going to come down with great wrath. We ain't going to stop saying it. Jacob's trouble is coming. Revelation 12 and 12, therefore rejoice ye heavens and ye that dwell in them. Woe to the inhabitants of the earth and of the sea, for the devil is come down unto you, having great wrath, because he knoweth that he have but a short time. And stuff like this is going to be a part of that. Which you have this shooting in Australia associated, all right, with small hats. Okay.
This incident shocking and distressing. Authorities say this was a terror attack targeted directly at the Jewish community. Authorities have confirmed that at least 11 people have been killed and 29 injured after those two gunmen shot into a crowd of people at the world-famous Bondi Beach in Sydney, Australia. Now, eyewitnesses have told our Brit Clinic that the shooting happened as many people gathered to celebrate the first day of Hanukkah. I do want to warn you that some of the video images are upsetting here. Videos show hundreds of people running for cover as the shots ring out. It happened at around 6:45 in the evening in Sydney, and early estimates are that about 1,000 people were on the beach at the time. Police say one shooter was killed, the other taken into custody, and investigators also found a vehicle nearby containing what authorities believe were several improvised explosive devices.
There we go. The explosive devices. All right. Next is going to be a manifesto. And then, so what this is going to do is ante up, because now New York and Los Angeles, all right, are on alert, because also here in California, right, you have this gunman fired 20 bullets at a Ish family, right? Yelling F the Jays, right? So we're coming into dangerous times. All right, I think I have the video here. In Redlands, California. All right, I'm not going to play too much of it, but the dude who did it yelled F the Jays. And you see people in the comments saying the world is waking up. Okay. Insert another group of people and it will be nonstop coverage. You know, enough is enough. You know, so we see where it's going. Okay. We see where it's going, man. Okay, so you know, I just wanted to get into a few of those things. Believe I had pretty much it for the videos. Yeah, this was one too.
11 people are dead after a shooting during a Jewish holiday celebration at Sydney's Bondi Beach.
Yes, for the first night of Hanukkah, police are investigating the mass shooting as a terrorist attack. KTLA's Aaron Myers is live in Pico Robertson with more about what we know about this terror investigation and how it's reverberating here at home. And Aaron, I know at this hour we have a lot of new reaction locally.
Hi, good morning. Well, we know that Jewish organizations are being told to take precautions at locations and at events.
It's going to be pointed towards, you know, Muslims and extremists, and we see where it's going. We ain't even got to really go too much more into that, but interesting times, man. You know, through the spirit and power of Yahweh Shem Yahshua. This is why in the book of Second Esdras, the second chapter. Okay. Okay. When Yahushua is crowning, you know, the men of the Lord, you know, for, you know, their great faith, you know, when he asks, you know, who are these that are being crowned? It says in 45, so I answered and he said unto me, so he answered and said unto me, these be they that have put off the mortal clothing and have put on the immortal, you know, receiving the new bodies. And that process starts here in the mind as we've received this truth. We're being transformed going from glory to glory. But it's going to be met with great, faith. We're going to have to show great faith. It says, and have confessed the name of the Most High, and now are they crowned and receive palms. And I said unto the angel, what young person is this that crowneth them and that giveth them palms in their hands? And so he said unto me, it is the Son of the Most High, whom they have confessed in the world. Then I began to greatly commend them that stood so stiffly for the name of the Lord. Okay. Habakkuk, the 2nd chapter, in the 4th verse. Behold, his soul which is lifted up is not upright in him, but the just shall live by his faith. All right. So he's getting ready to operate and has been operating in a very uncouth manner. All right. But him being revealed, okay, as the child of Satan, now he's getting ready to, he's going to strike back. All right. But we got to keep the faith and know and trust and believe that Yahweh, all right, Bahashem Yahweh Shai is in control. He was in control in Egypt. He's in control in this new Egypt, man. So just want to get into those few things. All right. Keep the faith. Shalom.